Hi, I'm Dennis Gage. Well, this week we're in Nashville, Tennessee to visit Jeff Lane and check out a few of the cars in the Lane Motor Museum. Now, this has got to be one of the weirdest collections of automotive oddities I've ever seen in my life. There's everything from microcars to race cars here. But Jeff's also got a lot of one-offs and prototypes that never quite made it into production. And when you look at them, you can kind of see why. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Hey Jeff, how you doing, man?
Nice to meet you. I'm doing good.
What an insane place you have here. I mean, it was actually Jay Leno that first turned me on to you. He was enamored with your Tatra. I guess you picked him up at the airport once with it or something, right?
Yes, we did.
And he said, Dennis, you got to go down. You got to see this place. It's really cool. You've got the wildest collection of cars I've ever seen in my life. You've got three-wheel cars, you got micro cars, you got all sorts of stuff here. And what an interesting building. This is actually an old bakery, right?
Yes, it's an old bakery, yes.
It makes a great place for the cars. You got a great floor and you got, kind of good natural light.
Yeah, it's a perfect fit for us.
So how many cars in total?
The collection has about 350 cars total.
And you seem to favor, French cars, Czechoslovakian cars, a lot of micro cars.
Yeah, and I always liked micro cars because they were kind of weird and wacky, and they did all these goofy things to try to solve the problem of moving people around for almost nothing. So
you have stuff here that I have never seen, I have never heard of. I mean, where do you find this stuff?
We do a lot of searching. We have a lot of people kind of looking for us, but then also as a museum, you have that opportunity where people have unique cars, they kind of know about the museum and they'll call you, or they'll see, a lot of times friends will be somewhere and they'll say, hey, I saw this really neat car and I think it fits in with your collection and here it is, call them or whatever. So there's a lot of different ways to hunt.
These cars must be quite a hit.
Well, they really are quite a hit. I mean, especially like the propeller-powered car.
And speaking of the propeller cars, right here. We might even be able to play with this later, do you think?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, let's save that to the end because I'm sure it will destroy my mustache. So let's go look at what else you got hiding in the corners over here.
Okay.
Let's go. Here we have a Tatra, right?
Yes.
This is a 47 T87?
Correct.
Is this the one you picked Jay Leno up at the airport with?
This is the car. Yeah.
And led to him buying one, right?
That's right. We got him hooked on one.
He's a Tatra freak now too. Well, he loves oddball cars. This is kind of an oddball car. It's a Czechoslovakian car, right?
Yes. Tatra was a Czechoslovakian car maker named after the Tatra Mountains that were in Czechoslovakia. It was a unibody. It was much easier to produce, and it went 100 miles an hour. Which
wow,
in the
really?
In the early 30s, that was a big deal anywhere.
Yeah.
Especially in Czechoslovakia. So it was called an Aerodynamic series styled car.
So aerodynamic car, and it's got kind of these sweeping, smooth lines and stuff. 3 headlights, and kind of an interesting windshield setup. These side windows.
Yeah, because they wanted the best streamlining they could get, they really wanted a curved glass windshield, but at that time in Czechoslovakia, they didn't know how to make curved glass. So they went to the 3-panel windscreen.
And it's got a massive sunroof. I mean, that is a sunroof up there,
yes,
right?
Yes, they did a sunroof on all of them. Because it was a very luxurious high-end car, it needed almost all the amenities.
Cool interior, though. I mean, looks really comfy. I like the gauging. I like the graphics on it.
Yeah, they try to do it very high-end. The speedometer, of course, goes what we would call backwards because it goes counterclockwise.
But one of the weird things about Tatras is that not only are they a rear-engine car, but it's a rear-engine air-cooled, right?
Right. Tatra was innovative in air cooling, and then when they did the Aerodynamic Streamline series, they went to rear engine.
And is this all part of the aerodynamics? Is that functional or is that just decorative?
Now the fin is functional because it went 100 miles an hour and they had difficulty with straight line stability above 80. They used different size fins and they did a bunch of testing to see where they could get the best increase in straight line stability, and they settled on this size fin here.
Oh, what an interesting looking engine. I mean, overhead cam?
Overhead cam.
V8 aluminum?
All aluminum, yes.
Wow. And you can see the cooling fins in and around every
on the cylinder heads, yes.
So kind of, a little bit Volkswagen, a little bit Porsche-like in some respects, right?
Yes.
But otherwise just a single barrel carburetor.
Single barrel carburetor, 3 liter, 75 horsepower.
It must look wild rolling down the road. I mean, it's an interesting looking car. I mean, when this thing rolls by, do people...
People always, you know, look at it. They grab cameras out of their cars. If you stop at the gas station, people come running over to look at it.
I mean, it's some cool engineering, though. It's a beautiful car in its own right.
Yeah, it was very well engineered and very well done, very well manufactured. So.
Yeah. Well, let's see what else you got.
Okay.
Well, now here's one of your one-offs, right? This is the Hewson Rocket.
Yes.
I saw this on your website, and I just thought it was so cool. We had to look close at this one today. Tell me the story of the Hewson Rocket.
Well, Bill Hewson was a Pierce Aero dealer, and when Pierce Aero went out of business, he turned to be an entrepreneur. And his concept with this car was, after World War II, he was convinced that all the aircraft factories in California weren't going to be building airplanes for the war, and so he was going to create a car that was made mostly out of aluminum, and he would be able to sell that concept to the aircraft companies so they could continue to produce something and sell something.
And this was the prototype for that?
This was the prototype for that, yeah.
So it's all polished aluminum?
All polished aluminum.
Now, it's not really a micro car. It's too big, isn't it?
It's too big, yeah. It would have been really considered a sports car,
yeah.
I think, because of the V8
But
engine.
it looks like a three-wheel car.
Yeah, it does look three-wheeled because the two wheels in the back are about 2 feet apart.
Oh, so it's got two real close together and then two
Right.
wide set in front.
Right, and one of the other things he did besides want to make it out of aluminum, he wanted to make it look futuristic and make it look very aerodynamic like an airplane. You know, it was kind of a marketing thing more than like the Tatra, which had a real function. This was more of a kind of stylistic approach to it.
Well, it looks to me, I mean, I don't see any hinging or anything up here. This doesn't even open up.
That's totally closed. There's really not much room up there. The suspension's up there and the wheels are up there.
I mean, there's no windows, there's no interior door handles. There's one gauge with smaller gauges in it, and that looks like it came out of a Lincoln.
Right, that is a speedometer out of a Lincoln, as a steering column is out of a car from the 30s. The door buttons.
They look Continental to me.
Right, so where they could use common car pieces, they did.
I mean, it's got to look wild as it goes by. People must, I mean, this must stop traffic.
People freak by it, undoubtedly. They've obviously never seen one of these.
Okay, there is only one of these.
Yes.
And the engine's back here.
The engine's back here.
It's a V8?
It's a V8 Ford 60 horsepower flathead, yes.
It is very aircraft looking in design in a lot of ways. The engineering looks real aircraft.
It does. I mean, it's got this big, large swing arm with the whole back swings on, and then this looks like it was some kind of oil tank or wing tank.
This is another one that again, I mean, people just, they can't even know what they're looking at.
Yeah, they're kind of blown away by it because, you know, when people see cars like this, they're always trying to look at the name. And of course, there's absolutely no badging on this car because it never went beyond the prototype stage. And then when they ask what it is and you tell them it's a Hewson Rocket, of course, that doesn't mean anything to anybody. So it's kind of one of those.
But if you think this is wild, let's go look at that Martin Aerodynamic. This is one of the craziest cars I've ever seen, though.
Yes.
Another one of one.
Another one of one, yes.
That never came to be.
It didn't work, yes.
I can't believe this was built in 28. It doesn't look anything like anything built in 28. Now, this is another car where the engine's in back, right? But
yes.
I've got a grill up front.
In this car, the radiator's in the front.
Oh, okay.
And it's water-cooled instead of air-cooled.
Fiberglass? No, it's aluminum.
It's aluminum with a wooden monocoque frame, very much like an airframe of an airplane.
Only one door. There's a door on this side, but there's no door on that side.
Right, and again, that's the airplane influence because every time you put a door in it, it reduces the strength of the structure.
I mean, it looks like the original interior in this car. Is
it? We believe the interior is original. We're not totally sure about that, but it appears to be.
I love the gauging.
Yeah, the dash, we believe the dash is out of a 20s car. We can't believe that he made his own dash for a one-of-a-kind car, but we haven't really been able to identify what it's out of yet.
You know, surprising amount of room, headroom. I mean, it's a very tall car.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a cozy back seat, but it's got a back seat.
Again, he was hoping it was going to be a high-end, high-speed, four-seater touring car.
Well, you know, it's also interesting, again, a little bit airplane inspired, but you've got your pilot seat, and then this really looks much more like a jump seat.
it definitely looks smaller, so it looked like he was more worried about the driver being comfortable than maybe the front seat passenger. So.
Wow, but I mean, 1928, what a wild looking car. So this whole thing comes off to reveal the engine?
Right.
Let's have a look. What is the engine?
It's a Continental 4-cylinder flathead. So he picked a standard motor that he could just buy from Continental Motors. The 3-speed transmission, a worm gear drive. He actually has the fan on the back, and in the South, it does not cool well at all.
And you drive this one too?
We've driven this one, yeah, fair bit.
And how does this one handle?
You know, it again is very rudimentary handling because it also has shock cord suspension. So it doesn't have any shock absorbers or springs. It has these rubber cords on a slider that goes up and down. So it kind of bounces over the bumps, and on top of that, it only has 2 band brakes on the rear.
But it's all a wooden frame, and then
it's all wooden frame
and aluminum covered.
Yeah.
Holy cow! I love how that fits up there. I mean, it's really, like you say, this must have been hugely expensive to make.
Right, because there's tons of curves everywhere. And you know, even this, I mean, if you look at this, they could have made it straight across. How much cheaper that would have been. But instead, I mean, it looks nice like that
beautiful.
and everything. But you know, the cost is
And
just.
it all fits one. And the only one, it never went any farther.
Never went any farther. So.
Pity.
Yeah, a good idea that wasn't.
Well, you know, there's one that's even weirder than anything we've done. The one with the propeller.
Yes.
I think that's our next task.
Okay.
All right. Contact! Well, this is it, the Helicron, right?
Yes.
Well, you have a video of this on your website, and I thought this was the craziest thing I ever saw. And this is the real deal. This is an actual vehicle built when?
Built in 1932 in France. The French believed in the 20s, there were a certain amount of French people that believed propeller power was going to be the wave of the future, not just for cars, but for trains and boats and buses and airplanes and everything. And their theory was that there's no transmission, there's no clutch, it's going to be less wear and tear on the tires, and it's going to be more efficient. The theory was great, in reality it didn't work out.
This issue of the noise and all the wind and stuff like that. It's a wooden body, but it looks like it's got some sort of, has it been fiberglass?
It's been fiberglassed over, and I kind of think that's because it has no suspension in the front, and it has very little suspension in the back. So I think that the pounding that it takes, that's the only way to keep the wood body from coming apart.
What sort of a chassis?
It's an Austin 7 chassis that they just took and turned around. You can see in the front here, you can see the hump, which would have been for the rear axle.
Right.
And then it steers in the back because, again, it comes from the airplane technology where most of the airplanes of that era steered in the back. And their belief was, well, it's true, it gives you better control. But what it doesn't give you is better stability. And what they never thought of was the airplane takes off and it doesn't matter. They don't need high-speed stability, but in a car, of course this car was not that fast anyway, but had it been fast, they would have had to do something about the rear steer.
So what is the top speed on something like this?
I would estimate 50 miles an hour after several minutes.
It takes a while to get there, huh?
Takes a while to get there. I mean, it's kind of fun to run on the road because it's just so unique and different. And the reaction of people is just incredible.
It's priceless.
It's priceless because at first they hear it, and then a couple minutes later maybe it shows up, and then they realize what it is. So, and their eyes are just gigantic. So.
And it's in the French racing blue.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. What's powering it? You have a more modern engine in there now.
Right, it's a Citroen GS 1.3 liter 4-cylinder.
And you found this where?
We found it in France.
In this condition, or?
It was pretty much in this condition. We painted the wheels and we redid the hood and we made a better propeller for it. But when we got it, it was in running, operating condition.
You do run it. It does run. Can we take this one out?
Oh, for sure.
This would be so much fun.
Yeah.
Let's take this one out and play with it.
Yeah, it might be the end of your mustache.
It will be. That's why we're doing it at the end. It will be the end of my mustache. Let's do it.
All right.
Contact. Kiss the mustache goodbye.
Yeah.
until our next meeting, remember, honor the timeless classics. I'm Dennis Gage. Happy motoring.